Hello, legends, and welcome to Blunt Force Healing Podcast, episode 317, I believe. And it's a video update number 95. There is a slight discrepancy, which I will shortly explain for those of you that are first time on this podcast. This project started as a me project, which is probably not of an interest of most of the people over the internet, but it wasn't the main purpose. The main purpose was to create some daily routine, and I was aiming for daily routine that I could do and maintain or sustain for a long period of time. I used to do a lot of things like that, but eventually those routines were fading away and failing after a month or so from inception. So this one was meant to be different. And on 19th of September 2022, I decided to take action and do a simple post. So I wrote just a couple of lines, really. It was very cringe, nothing special, but it wasn't meant to be special or to provide any kind of value to others. I know it sounds selfish, but the whole project's idea was to be my own accountability, and I didn't have any subscribers or followers, so it was intended to be only a record of me doing it every day. While doing that single blog post, WordPress suggested to me that I can transcribe it to a audio version in form of podcast. And obviously it was tempting, but I didn't like the fact that some AI / synthetic voice will just read soullessly my blog post and I posted this way. So I thought about it, and there was an option to provide the audio or record your own audio online, which was very handy, and I decided to go for it. So I read the post myself and saved it and published as a first podcast episode in audio on Spotify. It started like that, and it went like that for some time, and obviously evolved into quite long posts, blog posts, and a lot of readouts. But at some stage it felt mechanical. I've got feedback from external people that it feels a bit artificial on the podcast side, when I just read the blog post. While the blog post was fine and people felt like it's genuine, the readout was like audiobook. It didn't have that feel that blog post had. So I switched on day 200 to a new format, which is what you're listening and watching now. Initially it was just on the listening side, as most of the days before, but at some stage I started doing video updates and doing them regularly. And here I am. So 95 days ago, video updates started, and they are being uploaded in a video format to Spotify and YouTube. Not sure where you are. If you're on YouTube, please comment so I know that you're listening on the YouTube. If you're on Spotify, please try to share feedback on Spotify. I'm not sure how many options do you have there. Probably not much, because Spotify is not built for providing feedback too much. So if there are any means and you can provide feedback, that would be great. Spotify has two options. So if you're watching on, I believe, on a computer, on a web browser, or probably on mobile devices as well, you might be able to turn on a video version. but it splits that into video and audio only. So it is an audio only podcast on Spotify and Apple, Google, and other platforms that are available. Okay, that was quick summary. Let's get back to the business. As you can see, I'm recording in the car now because I am shortly picking up my son from soccer training and decided to record this episode now, as I tend to record them in the evenings or upload them in the evenings, and it usually causes me to publish everything very late, closer to midnight, and then stay during the night for too long before I go to sleep. And that has no benefits, or rather it has actually a negative impact to my well-being and other areas. This journal is about providing some value, if possible, and to also update you about what happens in my life, which is probably quite boring. Sometimes, I'm hiking or doing some interesting things, so some of you might benefit from those updates. I'm not saying it's totally useless, but as I hear from many psychological research around social media like YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, etc. People are not interested in your life, which means people are not interested in my life. And that's totally understandable. Unless somebody becomes a celebrity, then obviously their life is just their life and nobody cares. And this is still the project that is about maintaining my own routine, but it grew to the point that I am trying to provide as much value as possible every now and then. So today's title of the podcast is quite controversial, I would say, because I know it might be understood or read by mistake in a wrong way. The title says, "Midges are the worst." And some people can read it as midgets. And that's totally wrong, especially these days where everybody's oversensitive about inclusion, tolerance, etc. We are on the verge of a very interesting battle between people that are very conservative, then people in the middle that have reason, and then the woke side of people that are completely oversensitive and on the other kind of extreme of the conservative side. So there will always be people like that on all sides. What I think is beneficial for all of us is the more people get into the middle, which means boring, reasonable herd, then the world will be a better place. I'm approaching probably about 3 minutes left before they finish training, so let me quickly wrap up what it is about. Midges. In some areas they are very well known. In others they might be called differently. Midges are very tiny types of fly that bite. They're very similar to mosquito bites. You can feel them pretty quickly, and also our bodies very often react to it with a quick inflamed spot, like in the case of mosquito. So you have red, smaller than mosquito, but red dots after they bite. And why I mentioned midges is because they used to be prevalent in some years in Ireland, and sometimes they are not, but they are always somewhere. And I was happy to not meet them this year too much, but on yesterday's walk with my wife, while I was going through the forest and looking for mushrooms, I stood for too long in one place and they got me. And to be honest, I see a lot of red dots across my legs and I think even some on my arms. So I know the midges are there, and the humid weather is not helping because they are likely breeding a lot. If we will get any type of hot weather in August, it will likely be similar to the havoc that midges create in a hot weather on the West Coast usually. And we experienced that in a bad way on our trip in 2021 to Mayo. So yes, midges are the worst. I'm not concerned about mosquitoes or even ticks. Midges are plenty, midges are quick in biting, and they are relentless. So they are not midgets, they are midges without T. Midgets are fine. These are just people. The fact that they might be smaller or, have specific condition that makes them a little bit different than the regular person looks, it doesn't change anything. They are still normal human beings that we just happen to call midgets. And it's also not nice. It's just a smaller person that we should treat with respect. Summarizing that, today was about work. Again, nothing fancy happened. The guys just finished training. I am finishing that video and will be writing the blog post shortly and publish it this evening. So I hope you have a great day or great rest of the day or evening, and tune in for the next episode, which will be tomorrow. See ya.